So I'm glad that you're all here today, and I know that a lot of you already have these. And thank you for joining us on Happy Paper People today. But today we're going to look at the Stardust Metallic Pigments from Stamperia. There are 7 of them available. We have had them at a sale, so I know a lot of you have them, but some of you probably don't. I do still have a few in stock. I have at least one of all of them in stock except the blue. There is Martian Copper, which I love. Astral Green. Okay, I was going to say which I love. I can't do that on every one of them. Golden Sun, Silver Moon, Cosmos Magic. This one is magic. It's iridescent. Very, very cool. Nebula Rose. And there is Blue Neptune. And it's a gorgeous color blue. Blue Neptune. This is how they come packaged. It's a little tiny container. Easier to handle these packages than the little tiny containers. So I thought I'd show you those. But this is what they look like when they come out. I will give you one tip though. When you get the package, you will notice that you see the color. So I assumed that that was the top. And so when I took it out, I held it like that because it's a little tiny container, and I unscrewed it, and that's the bottom. And so everything fell into the lid, which means half of it fell out, right? So turn it over. They do that so that you can see the color, but you want to turn it over like this before you unscrew it, because this is actually the top. And there's a few of these that I have used quite a bit already. Another tip is just because they're tiny does not mean that they can't be tipped over or knocked and suddenly you have no more blue. I'm very sad because I love, love, love the blue, and I wanted to do some things with the blue today, and I have no more blue. Now my copper has some blue in it. My copper has some blue. I got most of it out, but it's got some blue. It's a little bit muddy, but I've used the copper a lot. I've used the blue a lot. And this Cosmos Magic a lot. And then I'm trying to be very careful not to spill the rest of those. So we'll be using everything except blue today, but I will show you some things that I have done with the blue just so that you can see, because it is awfully pretty. The other item that you need with it is this small bottle of beeswax. You might already have some beeswax, and you could use any beeswax. It just needs to be, see, mine's got color in it. It's got silver. It just needs to be beeswax that is soft, that you can spread like this. So you can't have beeswax that needs to be melted or and I don't know, some of them, maybe the pellets, you can melt them together and make a little soft dish like that. But like my block of beeswax that I use for ironing napkins on, that won't work. It needs to be soft and spreadable for sure. So I'm going to open the beeswax here. First of all, let me give you a couple of little insights. So this was made, they're all obviously astral solar system type of names, and they're really the colors that you're going to find in the Northern Lights. For a moment, it just left me, and that's so funny because I have family in Alaska, and this year we've gotten a lot of pictures because the lights have just been so active and dancing, and they're so gorgeous, and got a lot of pictures of, and they include all these colors. And so that's where the inspiration for the colors come from, and the names. So they're very pretty. So I thought to myself, well, I'd sure love to have this color or that color. And then I have to think, are they in that solar system, Northern Lights type of Aurora Borealis rainbow of colors, because that's kind of what they're going for there. And I do hope they expand it, maybe even with another section of it that maybe royal colors or something, that's not so astral. But let's start with this. We have the Stamperia molds, and we put things in the molds. Sylvia was just talking about one of those old-fashioned phones, and this is the dial from an old-fashioned phone. This is one that I did when we were talking about how to use the molds, and I was demonstrating when to take them out of the mold, and this came out too soon and what happens when it comes out too soon. And so it wasn't completely dry. Let's see, we're gonna get, yeah, there we go. Let me know if I need to bring that light back, but I think that lack of glare will help there. It was not completely dry, and so these aren't fully formed here. That's what happens when you pull it out before it's ready. But there are all kinds of molds with Stamperia, lots and lots of fun molds with words and things like this. This is perfect for what we're doing today. Even hinges, you could make rusty hinges, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to show you some of those that I've already done. I want to show you the process step by step, and we won't necessarily do every step of the process, but I will show you something at every step because we want to go through it fairly quickly. So you have a mold that you've just put in. This is Stamperia clay, and just put it in the mold, and I just let it sit there. It depends on your climate. It might dry in 24 hours. I often just put in a whole bunch at one time, and I'll let them sit there for 3-4 days, even longer if I get busy. But they don't necessarily take that long to form. You do want it to be fully dry. And when you go start to pull it out, you'll be able to tell if it sticks at all. You'll know that some of it's not coming out and that it's not completely dry. But that's the most important thing, is that it's completely dry when it comes out. And so you get this white clay. It's very lightweight. It feels like styrofoam, which is the awesome thing, is they look like big, and you can make them look like big, heavy things, but they're very lightweight styrofoam. The other thing that we do with the Stamperia molds is put not only the clay, but the really thin ones that are like a damask type wallpaper. We'll put paste in them. Their cream paste works great for this. The Pasta Sculptura works really great for that. There's a lot of other brands of paste that work really nicely. And so you take, I didn't even think about having one of those here, but you take that mold and just spread the paste in it, and you need to get it down deep in it. But then you have to have a layer over the top, because you're not pulling out every little design. There has to be a little layer over the top that it all sticks to, so it comes out as a whole piece. And then you get this whole piece. And we do a lot of things with these. We will age them. There's one from Sir Vagabond Japan, a wall. So we will age them. We will rust them and patina them. There's another rust and patina. And now we're going to talk about how to use the Stardust pigments on them. And so this one I've partially done with Stardust pigment, and we're going to go ahead and do this section right here so you can see the process of doing it. Now, these are the clay, and so these are stiffer, harder, and this one is paste put in there. Look how soft and flexible, super lightweight. This is just like a, piece of paper. A piece of paper, the paste that's gone hard, or dry. It's not even hard, it's just dry. And so they're really awesome. And so something like this, and this overage, I leave that on. I like to leave that on because if I'm going to use it as a book cover, I've got something there that I can paste down, bring my paper, fabric, whatever it is, right up to the edge. And I know there's not going to be a gap because it can overlap it right there. But I don't know when I make them necessarily. I'll make them and just in the white, just leave them in the white until I go to use them. And I can tear them apart and use sections. I can cut them apart and use sections, or can use it as a whole. I could even put this on a book, a mini book, and make that the cover and seal it all and, make it nice and permanent. So a lot of things that you can do with those. So let's look at that one first. The Stardust pigments were intended to use, really, the original intent was to use over black. That's when you get the very best look of them, is over the black pigment. So I black gessoed this so that it would be nice and dry. I am using today a Dina Wakley black gesso. I also have Finnabar black gesso. I think I've got a Stamperia and one other. I don't remember what the other brand is, but I use them all. They're interchangeable. I don't find one to be any different or better than the other. I just grabbed this small jar today so it wouldn't take up much space here. And if you don't have black gesso, you could use black acrylic paint. You just want a good black layer down before you start. And so you cover this with black gesso and let it dry. And I'll typically cover multiple things at the same time. So while I set this one aside and it's drying, then I'm covering something else, you know, with black gesso. And so this is of the same type of, let's see where that black is behind it. You can't really see. Same type of medallion. And so I've just covered in black gesso. I'm going to move these over because we won't use these white ones right now. But these are hearts that came out of one of the Stamperia molds. They have texture on top of them of different types. There's from SeaWorld, the sea lion. That would look cool, metallic. Here is Sir Vagabond. And I started to color him, got part of his jacket in the blue, and then dumped the blue. So I have no more blue. But I put him here to remind me to tell you about a couple of techniques. So I've got a bunch, just a bunch of things in here. So once you have the black gesso down, then you can put the Stardust on top of it. This is, I'm going to turn it around so you can see all the different colors that pop out of that. I hope they're showing on the screen because I turn it this way, I see purple, and then I go that way, I see blue. I see like a glowing white, all kinds of things. That is that Cosmos Magic. It's iridescent. And so you pick up, you see even right there, you can see all those colors in it shimmering around. It's really cool looking, but that is the Cosmos Magic. Here's a fun one. This is all 100% the Stardust Pigments. So black gesso as the base, and then the copper, the Martian copper is the handle, the silver moon right here, and then blue and some of the astral green, the Neptune blue, the astral green, a little bit of silver on there for the colors on the paintbrush. And then I just splattered some black gesso, got a huge splatter there that I did not intend, but it's okay. It actually works. Splattered some black gesso and some white gesso, watered down, just very watery, to make it look like a used paintbrush. So that was fun. Here is another one of these, what do you call them? Starfish. And black gesso as the base, and then just went over it with the gold. And then it seemed like it needed something. It still feels like it needs something to me. But then I took a brush and did a little bit of the iridescent on some of the dots. So in real life, as you turn it, you get a little bit of different color shining here and there. But it feels like it needs a little bit of dark, maybe a little bit of dark, making some of these veins or lines in there. And I may do that just with a fine point pen or marker. So here's the atelier sign that you might put outside of your studio. So again, just the black. The atelier, I did that with a couple of colors. I did it with a color and then went over it with black and didn't like it. So did it with another color, didn't like it, went over it with black. In the end, it's kind of a combination of several colors together, but it is primarily the Cosmos Magic. So there's a bunch of things here that we can do. I'm going to show you the techniques, how it works, how you do it today. And then if you would like to see more in depth, more things that we do, or more options of ways to use it, things that you can use it on, and actually watch us doing some more, then join us on our live. There is a live on YouTube right now already that we did, but this is the kind of thing that we do every Monday on Monday Jumpstart. So join us there. Here's a couple of little fish that turned out kind of cute. So lots of, okay, so here's the technique. Here's how you do it. Let's take this one. So we've got this black here, and it's dry. That is black gesso. I'd like to touch that blue up a bit, but I don't have any blue. I'll have to get some more and do that. So the first thing that you do is put some wax on it. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to use my middle finger, thinking which fingers I want to keep clean without anything on them. And there's a couple ways you can do this, and this is where you're going to need to experiment a bit, because you can take this and you can just rub across the top. And when I do that, I tend to be a little heavy-handed. I try to be really light, but even if I go light, what I find is that as I rub across the top, the wax comes off on the edge of each of those ridges that I'm rubbing across. Then as I rub it around to make sure it's all blended on, then the wax is actually down inside, not sitting up on top. The wax needs to go where I want the pigment to go. The pigment sticks to the wax. The pigment does not stick on by itself. Okay, just remember that. That is the only purpose of the wax, is for the pigment to stick on. So if I put this in and it goes down into the grooves and I put the pigment on, that means the pigment is going to be down on the grooves, in the grooves, which might be okay. And sometimes that looks really cool. But if I want the pigment to be up on the top so that the background is black and I can see the design in the color, then I need to only get the wax up on the top. So for me, I have found that an easier technique to do that, especially on a large item like this where it's got a large pattern, it's so easy. I just pat on the top, because then I'm just getting, and I'm putting very, very little wax on my finger when I do it. Very little wax. I don't want a whole bunch. I can't even see it. I only know it's there because I know I put my finger there. But there's not much. Whoops, see, got way too much right there. I don't want all that wax down in the grooves. Didn't realize I had a chunk on my finger, but I can pick up the wax right now. That's easy before I even put the pigment down. So I have found for me that the easiest way is just to tap the wax onto the top. And I don't worry about being too perfect or exactly where it's going to go, or making sure that absolutely no pigment goes down below, because it's actually kind of a cool look when it's not. That look of not perfection is really very cool on this. So I make sure to get that border that's going around the edge, because I want it to stick to that. Okay, so we've got the copper, we've got the astral green, and then we've got some blue. Turn these over so we can see our colors. How about the rose? Let's do the rose. Silver. Okay, so I'm going to unscrew the lid, again making sure that the label is on the top. Okay, I have used these quite a bit, and then I'm just going to put my finger right in there and get some on my finger. And that's probably quite a bit, but I'm not going to scrape it back off, because there is still going to be some residual wax on my finger. And if I do that, then the wax is going to scrape on the edge of the jar, and then the wax is going to be in there with it, and then it's just going to clump up inside the jar. And again, I'm tapping it on. I'm not rubbing it on. I'm tapping it on because I want it to attach to that wax that I just put on. And I would encourage you to try doing it different ways that you think of, rubbing it across, see what, kind of look you get. And also, I will tell you that it's going to be different. I'm going to rub it on the edge to get that border. And I kind of want it to go into the next color. You see, my finger caught on that, and that's exactly how you tip it over. It's so small that it just kind of pops up. There it is. Okay, now I can take a dry finger, and rub over this a bit. And I'm just really gently rubbing over the top. And by rubbing over it, it's like buffing it. But don't do it with a towel. Just do it with your finger. As you buff it, look how much more the metallic shine comes out. Just a little bit. If you keep going, it's that point of go to here and you buff it. But if you keep going, you're going to make it dull. So I'd like a little more blue to bring that into the green. I do have some of the green. I could come down farther into the copper, which I probably will end up doing. But that's a good opportunity to see multiple colors. And a large pattern like this that you can get to is really easy to use. Or something that is a whole item like this, where you're going to cover the whole item. And then by buffing it, I was able to get rubbed just a little off so you can see some of those lines down in there. Could even take a really fine tip black marker and go along some of those lines for accent, which I think would look really great, because you can see up there, you can see some of the black, and it looks really awesome on the head. This one on the tail, same thing. I even put a little bit of the Cosmos Magic, the Astral Green on the tail, just to give them a little bit of that shimmer that they do get on their tail. Okay, so that's how we use it over the top of a gessoed item. You know, we've got the glasses. So here's the glasses for Lady Vagabond and her little cat. We would do, let's do the little cat one. What color should little cat glasses be? And they could be multiple. You could start with one and go to the next and go to the next, so that they just kind of, just like this wallpaper one that we did, so that they kind of evolve from one to the next. You can do that. But let's say we're going to make his little glasses green. Let's make them astral green. This is such a prominent color in the Aurora Borealis. It is so, so beautiful. I will tell you that I used to live in Alaska, and I have seen it in person, and it is magnificent. Even the pictures are just, the pictures of somebody standing there seeing it, you know, in person are just magnificent. I'm just in awe every time I see it. Okay, so see how quickly, I mean, all I had to do is get that wax down and then do that. I'm going to take a dry finger, buff it just a little bit. Doesn't even take much to buff it, but as you're doing it, you can see the metallic start to shine even a little bit more. So there's Kitty Vagabond glasses in that green, so astral green. Okay, so it's super easy to use that way. Here's a couple, like here's a flower. This is a big molded flower. This is not lightweight. I did not mold this. This came molded in a package. And so I coated it with black gesso. And then the first thing that I did was put gold on just the outer half. And then I put a little bit of the Rose Nebula going from inside halfway up. So it kind of just blended in. I don't know if it actually shows the color. And then I took a tiny bit of black gesso on one of these fingers and stuck it inside here and just put it around the edge and pulled it up just ever so slightly so that it would have that, just that dark center. And that turned out really pretty. There's a couple of different things. And these are ones I was just experimenting with to see what would happen if I combined colors. They're very different on camera than they are in real life. That's interesting. This one says life. This one says creativity. But these are those soft, flexible from Stamperia molds. Very lightweight, easy to glue onto something. Okay, so let's look at another option of how to use these. I'm going to grab a baby wipe. Remember, we need a black base. Black gesso, but you can black gesso anything, right? So let's grab tags, because that is somewhere where it'd be really pretty, especially if you have a really neat design or you want something to stand out in your design on your tags. So it doesn't matter whether we start with black tags or white tags. Take the tag and take a stencil and take some paste. For these, I used the cream paste for these. You could use pasta sculpture. You could use any brand, any type of a cream paste that would go in. I probably wouldn't use a heavy body unless you wanted it to be a lot thicker, and it will take longer to dry. So this is a 13 Arts window stencil, and I'm excited to try that one. This was a Stamperia stencil. And then these are Tim Holtz. You probably recognize them, just the little bubbles. And oh, I think this was a Lady Vagabond, so a Stamperia. And that is about the same thing as that, but the larger size. So what we do is just doesn't matter what color the tag is, just put some of your paste over your stencil. And what I typically do is do a bunch of those and then just let them sit overnight. I don't need to sit there and work, try to dry them. I'll just do them before I know I want to work on them and let them sit and dry overnight. Then when you come back, you want to coat it in gesso. And so I already did one, so we don't have to take the time to do that. So this did look like these. It was a white tag, actually just cardstock, cut a very lightweight cardstock too, cut into tag shape. And so I just covered the whole thing in gesso. And then we'll put some pigment on that one to see what it looks like. Here's a small version. This was actually the exact same thing as this one. And my copper is getting really muddy with that blue in it. So I didn't get a really good copper look. But now that it's completely dry, I don't know. I'm wondering if I can put a little beeswax on it, put a little more copper on it to bring out that more metallic color, because that just looks kind of muddy. Around the edge, you see that little shine that almost looks like a border around the edge? That is the Cosmos Magic. That is that iridescent one. That's what this last section was, and I just kept going with what's on my finger around the edge like that, and just made just a tiny little border. So this is ready to either be decorated or put on like it is, or whatever you want to do with them. So let's take this one, and like I said, this is just a piece of cardstock, actually lightweight cardstock. So it'll work with any cardstock. I would say probably a medium weight to a heavy weight would give you your best results. I see a little bit of rolling with this, with the gesso, but not a whole lot. Not enough that I'm upset about it. So I'm going to get some beeswax on this. Now this is interesting because there's some large ones on here, but there's also some small ones. And it gets kind of difficult not to get the beeswax down in between them. So, all right, let's pick our colors here. What haven't we used? That Cosmos Magic. We haven't used the gold or the silver. We did use the green. We haven't used copper. The copper is getting muddy because it's got blue in it. I'm going to need to get a new copper too, or pull out that blue, which I guess I just didn't want to. Was hoping maybe I could salvage some of it, but it gets muddy, and then it gets the wax in it. It gets a little bit of clumped up. So let's go in here and try, see if we can get some clean copper. And I can already see blue all over my finger, but let's see what happens. So it's copper with blue highlights. Just like your hair should be, right? Probably not being as careful with that as I should, but don't remember how far down I went. Okay, a little bit of buff, and there you go. So that's how you do it on a tag there. Super easy. And yeah, all you need to do is put down something to give you texture, and then black gesso or black acrylic paint over the top, and then put the pigment, the wax and the pigment. So just remember that you need the beeswax to go with the pigment to make the pigment attach. So that is in a nutshell how to use the Stamperia Cosmos metallic or Stardust metallic pigment set. And as I mentioned, join us on our lives. We at Happy Paper People meet every Monday at noon Mountain Time, where we do a lot of experimenting with things like this. We answer questions, we make things together, and that's a great place to come learn more about these types of things. So happy to have you join us there, as well as on Facebook. Happy Paper People Facebook group is where you'll meet the nicest people in the world. We have challenges, we give away prizes, we do lots of fun stuff. So please join us. Happy to have you, and thanks for stopping by today.